So, first of all, welcome everyone, and also wanted to say Happy Earth Day. I'm really excited about this event. It's a collaboration between Gilbert Wellness and Green Gilbert. And our theme today is Go Green and Be Well, which is really meant to help us to draw a connection between a sustainable lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle. And again, just want to thank you all so much for being here to celebrate Earth Day with us. I, for one, am thrilled to be here alongside some truly knowledgeable and passionate people who I will be introducing in just a few minutes. But first, let me go to the next slide here. So I actually have a video to start us off with. And this is, I think this video really does a great job of introducing the overall topic, kind of making that connection between the environment and our wellness, and hopefully will help you to kind of start thinking about the impact your lifestyle has on the environment and how small changes can collectively help to restore our environment and connect us back to nature. So we'll play this here to start. And let me know if for some reason you can't hear it.
Welcome to this Wellness Moment by Be Well. You are nature, whether you like the outdoors or not. If you happen to be born 1,000 years ago, there would be many things different from your life today. Perhaps one of the biggest would be the amount of time spent outdoors in the natural world. Humans evolved to live in nature. The entire makeup and function of our bodies is designed to allow us to survive and thrive as part of the environment around us. And we have done so for thousands of years. Moving into modern times, we are now experiencing the greatest period of disconnect from the natural world than at any point in history. We spend the vast majority of our time indoors. Many of us are completely unfamiliar with the terrain, plants, and animal life that share the space around us. Our habits and lifestyle are not only disconnected from the natural world, but also actively harm it. A world without wellness. It is common knowledge that environmental degradation has created a state of crisis for our world. From depletion of the soil to pollution of air and water, the effects of our disregard for environmental responsibility is far-reaching and hugely concerning. Much could be said on this topic, but when it comes to wellness, we must first look at our relationship with the natural world. How do we view our place in the world? Lack of care for the world and people around us is not only damaging to the environment, but also to our spirit. A critical part of being a healthy human is respecting the world around us and our place in it. When we fail to do so, we are stunting an essential part of our well-being. The human ego would tell us that we stand apart from nature and are able to treat it however we want, as if the world is our domain and we rule over it. In reality, we are nature. We are just one piece of an intricate ecosystem where our actions have consequences for the whole, intended or not. We do not stand apart from nature or over it. We are deeply intertwined with it. Caring for our environment is caring for ourselves. How we interact with our environment is part of our own state of wellness. ignoring or harming the environment is actually harming ourselves. When we connect with nature, it can increase happiness, improve physical health, and strengthen social connections. It also invests us in something greater than ourselves and can expand our perspective on life to make us more attentive, mindful, and compassionate. The environment doesn't just refer to the world around us, it is us. How we treat the environment is a reflection of how we treat ourselves and others. To be people who experience the full meaning of wellness, we have to actively work to care for the world and extend what it means to be well to include everything around us. Thank you for listening, and be well.
I'm muted. Love that video. And again, does such a great job of just an overview of environmental wellness and connecting our well-being to the environment. And today we'll ask ourselves the question, how can we truly make a difference, and how can this directly impact our well-being, both in the short term for our health and in the long term. All right, so objectives for today. Let me pull up. First and foremost, we want to recognize and celebrate Earth Day. So happy Earth Day, everyone. I know it's a little bit different this year. We're still kind of in the midst of a pandemic and not quite able to gather together in person. So really excited to have this opportunity to be able to come together virtually for an Earth Day event. Today, we hope to help you understand that sustainable living not only gives back to our environment, but also gives back to ourselves and to future generations. We recognize how sustainable living can boost our own well-being. And then, of course, with the help of our expert panel, we will explore the various resources available throughout the town of Gilbert. And we will also discover some easy ways that we can make a difference, ultimately inspiring us to take action. All right, I am super honored to introduce our panel of presenters, starting with Kelly Elliott. Kelly has worked in environmental compliance for the town for 5 years. Her love for the environment started young and continued throughout earning her bachelor's in conservation biology from ASU. Today, she uses this passion to educate residents, businesses, and our employees on the importance of protecting our stormwater to keep surface waters clean. Super excited to have Kelly. We also have Carmelita Nichols, who is the environmental compliance coordinator for the town. Carmelita first realized she had a passion for helping others when she started working actually in the HR department here for the town 4 years ago. She then took on a new opportunity within the environmental compliance team, where she is now able to live out the town's mission and her own to innovate, create, and help people on a daily basis. We also have Israel Plath. Israel has been an environmental services outreach specialist for 3 years and has been with the town for a total of 4 years. He has conducted thousands of recycle barrel inspections to see how well residents are following program guidelines. He told me the oddest thing he has found in a blue barrel was a mini Weber grill with food still in it. Israel, I hope you didn't partake in that food. In his time away from work, you can find him riding his bicycle around the neighborhood. Israel, I love riding my bike too. Awesome. We also have Gina D'Amato. Gina graduated with her bachelor's in sustainability from ASU in 2017, has been working in water conservation ever since. In the last 4 years, she has worked to conserve natural resources within the city of Tempe, and most recently within the town of Gilbert as a water conservation specialist. Gina loves helping the Gilbert community learn and conserve every day. And lastly, I'll just do a brief introduction for myself. My name is Erica Brown, and I'm the wellness coordinator with the town of Gilbert. I've been working in the health and wellness industry for about 14 years, with the past 5 years being specifically workplace wellness. I recently joined the town of Gilbert actually this past February, and I have to say I've been completely blown away by how welcoming everyone has been and just the overall culture and engagement in programs. And of course, I'm honored to be here today presenting along with this amazing panel of experts. So thank you all for your time and for presenting today. All right, so enough of me talking. Let's get the audience here talking. We do want to make this a bit interactive. So I have a couple Earth Day trivia questions kind of sprinkled throughout. The first one is, what year was the first Earth Day? What year was the first Earth Day? We have 1961, 1970. You can go ahead and use the chat and let me know what you think the answer is. 1986, 2001. A lot of people are saying C. Roy, hi Roy, you're saying 1970. We have a couple answers for B. All right, we're kind of split between B and C. So Ash is going to say A. She's going to say 1961. All right, the answer is B, 1970. So really quick history. There was a lot going on during this time, obviously a booming manufacturing industry, booming automobile industry. So there's a lot of kind of pollution and people becoming aware of the impact that we as humans were having on the environment. So, and then in 1969, there was actually a pretty big oil spill in Santa Barbara, California. So all of these things combined sparked, there's a whole story about it if you want to read more about it, but sparked the coming of Earth Day, which is today is widely recognized as the largest secular observance in the world. So again, happy Earth Day, everyone. All right, so to start us off, I want to talk a little bit more, just kind of echoing what the video talked about how going green can impact our well-being. So over the next few slides, we will explore the many ways that a sustainable lifestyle can positively impact our well-being. And it is important to point out that these benefits really span across all 8 dimensions of our well-being. And as we will explore, being kind to the environment pays us back both in short and long-term health benefits. This includes just those immediate health benefits we feel just by getting outside in nature, to the unlimited access to food and clean water that will sustain us for a lifetime. And then lastly, I want us to all remember to not let the well run dry. In order to continue to take from our well, utilizing this analogy, we do need to give back, and whether this well represents our well-being or our environment, really both here are one and the same. We cannot continue to take expecting water to always be there if we are not taking care of the well itself. So first I want to start with how green living can impact our physical wellness. And the first is that it encourages conscious food consumption. So when we're thinking about where our food comes from, what it's grown with, what resources were used to make the food, we are more conscious consumers. And conscious consumers tend to eat less processed foods like processed meats, junk foods, which ultimately can lead to better health outcomes. And then in a similar sense, this type of lifestyle favors food culture over diet culture, probably one of my favorite things to talk about. So rather than, focusing on the next diet fad, and many of these diet fads actually include a lot of processed foods, surprisingly, green living connects us back with nature and again makes us more aware of where our food comes from. We then have a greater appreciation for our food, even a better relationship with food, which naturally lends itself to a healthier diet. Green living encourages whole food over processed foods, kind of along the same lines. If we're mindful of food waste and packaging waste, more of our diet will consist of whole foods, and these are typically healthier, typically contain less additives like salts and sugars, and are better for our waistlines and our overall health also. Local produce may even potentially contain more nutrients due to either more sustainable farming practices or a shorter time between the harvest and the food actually reaching our plate. And then in addition to just healthier diets, a green lifestyle encourages physical activity by way of encouraging biking or walking as alternative methods of transportation. Also active hobbies like gardening, crafting, hiking, and all of these things also help to improve our mental health, which we'll talk about on the next slide. But lastly, green living can mean improved indoor air quality. According to the American Lung Association, some of the chemicals in certain cleaners can actually irritate our eyes and throat and even cause headaches and just make us feel physically unwell. There's also a chance that these cleaners may find their way into rivers and lakes, decreasing our water quality. So really overall, there's a lot of physical wellness benefits, but these are kind of the main ones that I wanted to touch on today. And then of course, the mental health benefits. So one of the more, I would say, obvious ways that green living improves our mental health is through a more active lifestyle. So physical activity, being more active, it boosts our feel-good endorphins, releases stress, and improves our physical health, which makes us mentally just feel better. I know me myself, I use exercise as a stress reliever. And then sustainable living encourages mindfulness. Just even through the process of examining our environmental impact, we become more aware of the influence our actions have on our mood, our emotions. In other words, mindfulness doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? So when we are mindful towards the environment, we tend to also be more mindful of our own thoughts, our own emotions as well. It prioritizes connecting with nature, and nature really, as the video pointed out, helps us to heal both physically and mentally. There's actually some research that really supports this. There's a research that shows 15 minutes spent in nature can reduce cortisol levels, which is our main stress hormone, by 16%. Another study found that patients in hospital rooms with views of green spaces recovered faster than patients in rooms without that view. So again, nature and our connection with nature is super powerful. Green living promotes community and companionship as well. And really at the core of a sustainable lifestyle is this notion that we as humans are supposed to support one another. Sustainable living is not something that can easily be accomplished alone. It really relies on companionship, on a community with common goals, and having this type of support system does help to strengthen our resiliency and our mental health. And ultimately, green living is purposeful living. So, you know, as humans, and I can relate to this, we often experience stress and anxiety when our lifestyle is not in alignment with our values. So we may wish to give back to the environment, but our current lifestyles are just too comfortable or too convenient. But at our core, we know we can be doing something more, something different. And when we are able to do that, it's really fulfilling and empowering. I don't know if anyone else out there can relate to that, wanting to do more. And that's really what we'll talk about today, is some simple ways that we can do more. And I'm really excited to kind of get into that. A few more other health benefits to green living. The first is it can save us money. So, for example, if we're making our own cleaning products, buying foods in bulk rather than paying for pre-packaging foods, using energy efficient appliances and light bulbs, saving money, gas money by walking or biking. So all these are all ways that we can significantly reduce our costs over time. Also, it can help us reduce clutter. We're either repurposing old items rather than buying new items and filling ourselves up with more clutter. Maybe we're donating items that we really aren't using anymore, don't need. And really, when we're not filling our lives up with clutter, be it physical clutter or even mental clutter, it provides more space, time, even money for the things that we truly love. And a couple others. This one I really like. Natural light boosts productivity. I have this window right next to me. I used to sit in a different spot in the house, and I do feel like just sitting by this window somehow gives me more energy and makes me more productive throughout my day. I don't know. I didn't know there was actual research behind this, but there is. So encourage you to turn the lights off, open the windows, and get some natural light. Also can help our sleep if we're saving electricity by turning off electronics at night. We're not up late watching TV or even scrolling through our phones. Trying to wind down with reading or meditating can really help us to fall asleep faster and feel more rested the next day. And that's a lot, but really there are countless ways in which green living can boost our well-being physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, socially, all of these different ways. And even just putting together this presentation today, I'm inspired to make more of an effort and make more of a priority to green living and sustainable living. And that's really what we're asking of you all today. I know it can be a bit overwhelming to think about what we're not doing or what we can be doing. And I came across this quote that I really liked, which says, if you don't like the way the world is, you change it one step at a time. And the same can go for our health. If you don't like the way your health is, you change it one step at a time. And that's kind of what helps me start to think about making changes. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It doesn't have to be a complete 180 lifestyle, change. But if we can commit to small changes, utilizing resources that are already available to us, we can over time create a big change. So with that, I'm excited to hand the presentation over to Kelly Elliott and Carmelita Nichols, who will be talking about programs and resources available through the Department of Environmental Compliance.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. Great work. That was very inspirational. So I'll start off on the next slide, just kind of going through what environmental compliance is, what we do. I know that many of us, or many of you, I certainly have to deal with it all the time. Many of you may not have to deal with our program all too much or work with us all that often. So here are the things that we are in charge of in environmental compliance. So we have stormwater and air quality. We manage the permits for those for the town. That also includes enforcement and education for residents and businesses and people in the town. And then we also manage those permits, like I said. So we do the permits, and then we also have the household hazardous waste facility is under our umbrella, which I'll go into a little bit more in a couple of slides. Next. Awesome. So like one major permit that we deal with is our municipal separate storm sewer permit. That's our MS4. That's the permit that we get from the state that allows us to discharge water from our storm sewer system. And what's kind of neat about that permit is that we have 6 main conditions of complying, and 2 of them are including the public in participation in education. So it's really neat. So then that makes it part of our job is hosting events like these cleanups and things like that, and educating the public at events on the importance of water, because of course, stormwater, and when it rains, that water has to go somewhere. And of course, that water is our surface water, becomes our groundwater, is our water for the future. So it's important that we make sure that the community and our employees know that and are doing everything they can to protect it and can get involved when they are able. And so that just kind of helps us keep Gilbert as vibrant and beautiful as it is today. Whoop, go back one. It's fussy.
Sorry, I kept
And
skipping
then
2 slides.
this is kind of the cool part that is like a resource for you, especially if you're a resident of Gilbert, but we'll go into, even if you're not a resident, you can use it. So we have the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Facility. This is a great place. Maybe you've used it, maybe you've used one, even if you live in a different city. This is a great way for people to turn in hazardous materials. And sometimes that's things you don't even think of as being hazardous to the environment. They can turn those things in to be reused and recycled and kept separate from landfill waste, where that would be a problem. So these pictures kind of show you what that process would look like when people visit and drop off their materials. And it's everything from, we can look at the next slide just quickly. I'm not going to go through all of this, but it gives you an idea of the types of things you would bring to a household hazardous waste facility. And then I think we're still at like 90% of the things that come in or more are being reused or recycled in some way. So it's a great way to also just, make sure that your products are being reused and recycled in some way. And like I said, this service is available in other cities as well. So we can help you find that information if you live in a different city for the drop off. But on the next slide, here's the part that anybody can use that's super cool, the swap shop. So the swap shop is where if items come in, they're still in their original packaging, but there's some material left that people could use. We put it back on the shelf, or the guys put it back on the shelf, and you can go in there and take those things free of charge. They weigh, so they can account for how much of that material was reused rather than disposed of. So you come in there and you can find all those things. Literally, some of those pictures I took yesterday, so I can't guarantee they're still there, but I'm sure there's similar things. And then something I wanted to point out is the paint recycling program. This is where they actually are recycling the paint that comes in. Latex paint comes in, they dump it, they remix it into tans and grays, and anybody can come in and get that those 5-gallon buckets of paint to use for whatever you may need that for. And then the composters in the center. I think that's mostly for residents, but just so you know, that's available there, composters that you can use. So yeah, if you haven't been there, all the addresses at the end and the website and stuff. And one more cool idea that has to do with the swap shop. This is something fun that I enjoy doing that's really easy. Yeah, composters, and they're old garbage cans, so they're a reuse. So it's a really fun activity if you've never done it. Hydro dipping, it looks cool and it's so easy. So it's just, if you have a bucket and some water, and then like at the swap shop, it's really fun. You can get any, spray paint color you want, but you're spending no money, and you can get all different colors to do all kinds of fun projects. And if you just look up hydro dipping, you can see the instructions, but basically looking at the picture, you get the idea. It's that easy. So it's a fun way to customize things. And so if you want to visit our household hazardous waste facility, it's down here at Queen Creek and Greenfield. You can see it there. Go to the website to make sure that you're bringing in the right things. But again, you can visit anytime during those hours to pick things up to go through that swap shop. And then I think I'm going to pass it off to Carmelita, who's going to talk about some internal hazardous waste things.
Thank you, Kelly, for all that wonderful information about our team. So here's a little bit of a new program that we're putting together. Kelly talked to us about how residents can handle their hazardous waste and how we take care of our town through our environmental compliance team. But we have not ever really put together a full functioning program for town generated hazardous material. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about that. People often ask me, hey, Carmelita, if you don't reuse it, will I lose it? The answer is yes, that is a fact. You will lose it if you don't reuse it. So reusing something in multiple ways or for multiple purposes helps us in a few different ways. It helps us decrease the amount of waste that's going into the landfills and the incinerators. And it helps us to be good stewards of our finances here at the town with our budgets. So whenever I am going to be assessing a new hazardous waste stream, I'll make sure that I determine whether it can be used by another division throughout the town before we dispose of it properly. So right now we try to recycle paint in different areas. There's tons of different products that we can be doing that across different divisions that we just don't realize because there's not a way for any of us to know that anybody has these things. So sometimes they just get disposed of. So I'm going to be making a huge effort to try to make sure that we can reuse some of these things across the town. You can go to the next one. Okay, so when in doubt, don't throw it out. Did you guys know that we encounter hazardous materials every day? These materials need to be disposed of in an environmentally safe manner. And here's some examples of these hazardous materials that we come into contact with. Everywhere we go, buildings are lit up, parking structures. These light bulbs contain hazardous materials and we need to dispose of them properly. So that's something that most people don't realize that needs to come in to be disposed properly. And then aerosol cans, we deal with tons of different types of aerosol sprays. For instance, you might think, well, you know, the little air sprayers that we use for our keyboards all the time. Our PD actually uses their mace, the OC spray. They all have to have that, and those need to be disposed of properly. We use batteries, all kinds of different types of batteries, and not just alkaline like that. Lithium ions that we have in our laptops and cell phones, those can easily start fires if disposed of in the regular trash. Car batteries. And then we also have pesticides and herbicides that our Parks and Rec and department uses quite a bit. And some of our other divisions across the town, not for quite big jobs like Parks and Rec does, but we do come into contact with them. So next. Okay, so we do have some dangers when we don't dispose of these properly. All the way on the left, we have what they call a hot load that can be dumped by one of our solid waste trucks. And this was because something was put in the trash that shouldn't have been in there. And when that happens, we can put our friends, our family, our community, and our coworkers in serious danger. So we want to avoid putting these types of things in the trash. In the middle, we have some spilled paint that's going directly into our storm infrastructure. Like Kelly was talking about earlier, our storm infrastructure is so important because that goes right back into our groundwater. So we want to make sure that we're not being negligent with those types of materials. And when things like this happen, the picture on the right shows you that we have to call cleanup crews, and they actually do look like that. They have to come out in full PPE with all their material to clean the mess up, and then they also have to test it to make sure that it's safe for them to leave and it's cleaned up. And then at the end of it, they have to dispose of it properly so that it's not going back into our earth. So what happens is we could have just paid for this and been responsible in the first place and disposed of it properly, but instead we're paying for all of the extra work to be done and make sure that we're taking care of each other and of our earth. So that can be quite costly also. So we need to just make sure that we're taking care of each other and our earth. And I will be setting up some meetings and a schedule to meet with everybody around the town to identify different areas that we could potentially have hazardous materials where we can reuse throughout the town. And if not, I'll come up with a great, hopefully pretty cost-effective way to help everybody dispose of it properly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carmelita. That's great information, Kelly and Carmelita. Really eye-opening to hear and see that. So thank you both for your efforts. Awesome. We have another trivia question. Question is, on average, How many aluminum soda cans are used in the United States each year? We have 4 options. What do you guys think? 90 million, 120 million, 80 billion, 3 billion. Someone whispered. Thought I heard that. No cheating. These, we have a couple for 120 million, a couple for 80 billion. And more for 80 billion. Some people heard that hint. Some people say 3 billion. The answer is 80 billion. Yes, 80 billion aluminum soda cans, which are recyclable and can be made into a variety of different products. And that is a really great segue into our next speaker and our next topic. Israel is going to be speaking a little bit about reducing, reusing, and recycling.
Thank you, Erica. I'm going to cover probably the most common known item to, green living. We've all seen the reduce, reuse, recycle slogan in the arrows, as well as we probably all have a blue bin either at the office or at home for curbside collection. Now, recycling, it is important, but recycling really is a solution to a product that's at the end of its life that we're trying to deal with. So what you see here, even in these arrows, reduce is the first important thing, because if we reduce the amount of material, we don't have to deal with it later. So just some good tips is, avoiding using single-use items, the so-called disposable plates, napkins and towels, plastic cups. If you can, keep a regular traditional plate around, you're going to save a lot of headache downstream into the collection process. And then probably the most easiest thing that I took into account to change was I stopped using water bottles. I really just now use a reusable container that's insulated and it keeps my drink colder longer, and I'm not dealing with a massive amount of plastic bottles. And then earlier somebody mentioned about buying in bulk. Well, that's a great option because there's going to be way less packaging in bulk than all these single individual use items. And then one neat thing is some vendors are getting into, and some companies are, is that they're trying to help curb the amount of items, downstream in the collection system. So for example, Amazon, something I use all the time. I have what they call Amazon Day. Mine happen to be Monday, and I get all my stuff that I order during the week on one single day in one box rather than, multiple individual boxes. And then kind of going into what Kelly Elliott and Carmelita were talking about, it's great that we have the household hazardous waste facility, but if we can avoid using it by buying just what we need instead of just buying a huge amount of, let's say, paints or other household chemicals, that's going to help reduce the strain on their jobs and as well as costs associated with handling those hazardous chemicals. Next slide, please. All right, and as you might know now, that one of the things I do is I check recycle bins to see what creative items some people decide to throw in there. And some of the top 10 things that we find out there is the first and foremost, the number one issue is plastic bags. These items get all tangled in our equipment, and also they're so fluffy that they can even fly out of the truck while it's being dumped. So the solution for them would be to return them to your local grocery store or retailer, because they go through a different process to be recycled and turned into other items. But we definitely don't want them in our blue curbside bin. As well as we don't want items bagged. When the items are bagged in the container and not loose to be easily processed, those all the items in the containers end up going on a conveyor belt, which is going around 30 miles per hour. So unfortunately, when it gets to our vendor that's sorting it, they end up just having to, landfill what's bagged in the material that's bagged, compared to what some residents think is they're going to stop the machine and open it to see what's in there. So unfortunately, I do run into this a lot, and there's some great material in there, but it's bagged. And then with the rise of Amazon shipping mailer bags and envelopes, some will even say they're recyclable, but are not recyclable in our, blue recycle bin, because it's just, again, another process, just almost like those grocery bags. But on some of those, like I think the plastic mailer that's down there actually tells you that it's recyclable, but it will tell you to take it to your local retailer. So at least, Amazon is stepping up and trying to help out, get the information out. And then still sticking with the shipping is those air pockets. They're nice and fun to pop and make noise, but they also can get tangled in our equipment. So we ask not to have them placed in the curbside bin. Styrofoam. This is a very common thing. A lot of QT cups, Circle K cups. Unfortunately, styrofoam is plentiful and cheap, so there is no market for styrofoam. And not only that, also when it's in the recycle bin and not bagged, you can always find evidence of styrofoam on the ground after the can's been serviced. So just to keep it tidy, throw it away with your trash and bag it. And then again, those paper plates and napkins. Just walking today, I found so many napkins, and I'd like to tell you that they're all new napkins, but they're not. So these items, they've already been broken down as much as they can. There is no process for them to be reused. So we really inform residents to, bag it with your regular trash. And then this other item was, some people get confused on, but the water bottle plastic, the wrap that's on it, a lot of residents will toss that into the container thinking because it's a thicker plastic that it can be recycled, but it's kind of in the same way as those grocery bags. They tangle in equipment and stop the process of sorting. So we ask residents to return those as well to grocery stores or other retailers that take, plastic. Really, when it comes to plastic, the easy way I tell residents to remember is if you can crinkle it in your hand, just keep it out of the blue bin. Pet food bags, it can kind of be shocking at times. Residents think they are recyclable, but again, with the bags, the material is too flimsy and it can tangle in the equipment. So we ask them not to place it in the blue bin. Pizza boxes, this was a shocker for me. I did not know until I actually visited one of the facilities that sorts our items. But when these pizza boxes are all greasy, that ruins the material to to go ahead and recycle it and reuse it. So they asked that we inform residents to please go ahead and pitch that pizza box. And just yesterday, I actually found a pizza box with pizza in it. I'm half eaten. I'm like, oh, okay, we not going to recycle pizza. Shredded paper. It used to be that we took shredded paper in a bag, but now we don't. The demand for papers come down some, but also it's really hard to, when the items are bagged, like I was mentioning before, they're not going to stop and open it, especially if you can think of shredded paper. If you try to open it and send it down a conveyor belt at 30 miles an hour, you're going to have a confetti all over in the air. So now we ask residents to bag it and place it in their black trash bin. And then the final thing is you see a lot of just garbage. One thing here in the town that we see is somebody's trash can is overflowing and the recycle bin is going to be picked up the same day. So they're going to place, household garbage. They're going to place, that brush that they cleaned up over the weekend. All kinds of just general items that, should never be in the recycle bin. We do see it out there. Kids' toys, shoes, excess metal, construction material, just items that what we call in the industry is wish cycling, thinking that somebody's going to sort that and hopefully get recycled. But unfortunately, that is not the case. And that's
Wow.
oh, I did want to mention one other thing is this summer the town of Gilbert is going to be changing some of the items that we take, that either there is no market for them, so our vendors are landfilling them, or just in general costing too much to recycle for the town. So keep your eye out for when we have the final say on what materials we're going to remove. But also, this isn't just, these changes aren't just tied to the town of Gilbert. Many municipalities around the valley are changing the items. So if you don't live in the town, I definitely would look into seeing what changes might be coming to your program wherever you may live.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. I think that's one of the biggest barriers for recycling in general, right? It's just not knowing what the right things are and if it's continually changing. So just continuing to educate ourselves, our community on what is and is not recyclable can make such a huge difference.
For
So
sure.
thank you. I know we do have to keep on moving, but appreciate you being with us, Israel.
Thanks.
Great. Really quick trivia questions. What region of Earth produces 20% of the planet's oxygen? Any guesses? We've got 10 seconds. Woo, we got a couple that got it right off the bat. Love that. Yes, the Amazon rainforest. And then the second question is, most of Earth's breathable air comes from where? Most of the Earth's breathable air. I don't have multiple choice on this one, so plants, trees is a great guess, but it's actually not correct. I know, I was surprised at this answer too, so I'm going to share it with you guys. The ocean, Sky. The ocean, yes. So actually the plant life and the plankton and all of those things, the ocean is so massive, we don't even think about the fact that a lot of our breathable air comes from the ocean. So great job, everyone. All right, and next up, we have Gina D'Amato, who will be talking about Gilbert water conservation programs and resources. And Gina's not able to be here on video live, but she does have some slides for us to present. So we'll move on forward. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gina D'Amato. I'm a water conservation specialist here within the town of Gilbert, and I'm here to talk to you today just briefly about some of the services that we offer to our Gilbert residents and how those different services can positively affect our health and wellness. So one of the main services that we offer here within the town of Gilbert in our water conservation department are our residential landscape workshops. Normally those are offered every spring and fall in person. This last year we did end up recording them so that they're accessible at any time off of our website. The 4 workshops that we recorded and offered this last fall were Plants for Your Arizona Yard, Hummingbirds and Butterflies in Your Yard, the ABCs of Landscape Watering, and Irrigation Controller Programming. So between those 4 workshops, you really learn about maybe desert native plants that you can incorporate into your yard, and even some that can attract different wildlife, how much water your grass and your plants actually need, and how to incorporate that into your irrigation controller. Those timers can kind of notoriously be tricky and confusing, and so that last workshop really walks you through step by step on how to program your controller. So why does any of this matter? There is a ton of research and more evidence that interacting with nature really helps increase your self-esteem, reduce anger, decrease depression, and reduce anxiety and stress. And we all know that being outdoors, especially here in Arizona, you receive ample amounts of vitamin D. And some of the benefits of vitamin D are the promotion of proper blood flow, the regulation of your immune system, and then it also increases relaxation. So whether you're doing, routine yard maintenance or maybe some gardening, or even for those of us that are still working from home, just going outside for 5 or 10 minutes into your front or backyard and just being in nature and getting some fresh air can really help improve your wellness and your mental health and just your overall health. Probably the most popular service that we offer here within water conservation are our water efficiency checkups. And those are offered to Gilbert residents. And during those checkups, we help you isolate any leaks that might be occurring. And we also teach you proper watering techniques based off your current irrigation schedule. So whether you have grass or plants, we really teach you how to water efficiently, make recommendations based off of your current schedule, and then answer any questions that you have just related to conservation in general at your home. Up to 70% of residential water usage is actually used outdoors. And a lot of that we know is due to overwatering. And so understanding exactly how much water your grass and plants actually need, it's probably less than you might think. And so we really focus on education and efficiency and how you can be more efficient in your watering and just in your indoor usage and any other outdoor usage that you might have. And so we actually offer these checkups in several different ways. Because of COVID, we did start offering them in a completely virtual format, whether it be over Google Duo or FaceTime. We walk you through as much as we can virtually. And we also offer them no contact. And so that does let us at least come out to the property and do what we can out there and then communicating to you over the phone. And then we recently started launching our socially distanced checkups, which we are very excited about. It lets residents come out there with us, maintaining social distance, and it lets us give them a more hands-on education, which is so much more impactful and effective for our residents. And so the requirements of these socially distanced checkups are just maintaining that at least 6 feet of distance at all times, and then also being masked as well. And so those were the main services that I wanted to cover today. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to learn about water conservation. If anyone who is a Gilbert resident is interested in a water efficiency checkup, you can schedule that through Gilbert 311. But I did provide my contact information here in case anyone just has any more questions based off my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Thank you so much, and I will hand it back over.
Awesome, great information. All right, so we have a few minutes left. I do have one more. This is actually my favorite trivia question, and then we'll get into kind of a couple more resources and next steps, what to do next from here. So about how many trees can be found throughout the town of Gilbert? Have some guesses here, C's and D's. Yes, I pulled this question from a recent tree inventory that I think Heather provided to me, or Kelly, can't remember now, but let's see what our answer is. 13,002. So actually it was 13,226 according to the most recent tree inventory. And it's estimated that trees throughout Gilbert produce 453 tons of oxygen per year. So I've learned a lot about trees just from putting this presentation together, just from how they remove pollution from the air, how they help with water runoff, and obviously give us oxygen to breathe. So you have some time this weekend, I would say go out and hug a tree because they are really, really important. A couple more resources I just want to make sure to mention. The first is, of course, our parks and recreation here at the town of Gilbert. Gilbert has extensive green spaces, parks, trails. It's a great place to get outdoors, get some exercise, connect with nature. Its parks have won awards. I mean, they're beautiful. So definitely recommend checking out the parks and even trails available. Here's some other pictures of all the different parks, over 600 acres of open space, 2 riparian areas. What's that? Oh, I thought I heard someone say something. Beautiful pictures. I have not been able to visit all of these, but I'm curious, what is your favorite outdoor space in Gilbert? Does anyone have a favorite outdoor space? The Riparian Reserve. Yes, I've heard such great things about that. I really want to go visit it. I have not been there yet. Discovery is nice, yes. You should not be hugging squirrel or other cacti. Yes, I did definitely agree with that. Don't blame me if you actually do that. Yes, okay. South Recharge Site. Love that. Yes, there are lots of places in Gilbert. Being new to the town, I definitely want to make sure I get out and experience them all. Hopefully before it starts getting really hot outside, but even in the summertime, getting out in the morning can be great. So love that. And we're really low on time, unfortunately. I know we had a lot to cover. We had a lot of speakers. Just wanted to point out that as Gilbert employees, we do get a discount to Freestone Rec Center. So physical activity is obviously really important to our health and well-being. Although it's indoors, just wanted to mention the employee discount. I think it's a 20% discount. Also, we have a trip reduction program, which I don't have time to get too into today. Christine Lloyd is our workers' comp specialist, and what I would ask is if you have questions about this, to contact Christine about this, because it is a really great program. There's drawings and incentives offered if you're taking alternative means of transportation, biking, walking to work, even if you're working remotely. Thank you, Christine, for providing your contact information there. There's form to fill out. And again, there's biweekly raffle drawings for gift cards. There's 4 hours off work vouchers for every 40 round trips that is submitted. There's also bike walk subsidy and bus cards available through the HR division at no charge for going to and from work. So the town's really encouraging and incentivizing this trip, taking alternate means of transportation so there's less traffic, less pollution, and encourages physical activity. So thank you, Christine, for taking any questions about that. But really, as we round out today's session, I want to talk about what's next. And I think the first step to what's next would be to ask ourselves a couple questions. What can we do to be kinder to our environment? Gilbert was once dubbed Kindness USA. We saw all the wonderful acts of kindness being done throughout the town, and there's so much being done for the environment by people who spoke today and lots of others in the community. But just starting to think about how can we show that same kindness to the environment, and just asking ourselves these simple questions and making that connection between what we're doing for the environment and how that is directly impacting our well-being. We have lots of habits for you. This list is available within our Go Green Be Well pledge. So I'm going to skip over this and ask you to not only take in what you learned, but also to take a step to commit to making a change, commit to doing something, one habit, one new thing to do for the environment. There is a pledge online. You can actually scan this QR code. We will also send out a link to the pledge online. And I'm actually going to add a question to it. So before you fill it out, I'm going to quickly add a question to it, because you all had so much great things to share that I am going to add, if you have anything, any tip that you want to share with the town of Gilbert, I'm going to allow a space for you to put that, because I think we can all really learn from one another. And so not just pledging of something that we can do for the environment, but also sharing that with one another can be really beneficial. All right. Lastly, we'll leave you with this great quote. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So never discount the impact that you can make with one habit, one thing at a time. Thank you to the amazing presenters today who are doing so much every day for the environment. And just for all of you being here, being interested in things that you can do also. I know I've been inspired listening to everyone, and I know there's so much more that I can do, and I encourage you all to do the same. So thank you, everyone. And there will be an email sent out to everyone with some more information, some follow-ups. We will have raffle giveaways for that pledge. So in order to earn a place to earn the raffle, all you have to do is take that step and submit a pledge, and you will be entered to win some really cool stuff. All right, anything else? Any last comments or questions from anyone before we wrap up? Mhm. All right. The pledge. So actually I can give you I'll put the link in the chat here. I can get to it. And then also you can copy, take a picture of this QR code with your phone if you want to do it right on your phone. But give me 2 minutes. I'm just going to add one more question to the pledge. All right, everyone. Thank you again so much to our speakers, to all of you for listening, and have a wonderful rest of your Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
All right, thank you. Happy Earth Day.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.